Oh, there you are. I finally found you. Did you really think that there was going to be an escape, a freedom? No. No, no. You see, when I let you leave, I knew exactly what you were going to walk into, or rather, what you weren't going to walk out of. This building. You think that I've gotten away and survived and been undetected this long by having open doors? The door you went through was just one door into another part of the building. The doors that lead outside, as you've so clearly discovered, are titanium reinforced with multiple levels of security. I'm not one to do half measures. It's a full measure, or it's none at all. But in my case, it's all. Every possible measure possible, all of them. You know, for a moment I thought you were going to stay with me. And that's why I'm so disappointed in you. I saw you thinking, I saw you wondering to yourself, perhaps, maybe I can change him, maybe if I stay, things will be different. Why would you think such things? I could see it in your eyes. But part of me wanted you to actually choose that route. I wanted you to stay here. I mean, you don't have the choice, ultimately, hence why you're there on the ground. Just sat there, looking pretty distressed right now, thinking, what's he going to do? Well, let me clear that up. I'm going to talk to you, for now. We have a few things we need to discuss, given your treachery. The walls are pretty thick too. I don't know if you tried to get through any. If you did, that would be more disappointment. Layered disappointment. Doors are one thing. They were strong enough to withhold, well, quite a long time of you kicking and hitting. I see you've destroyed one or two of my precious vases. What did you do with the flowers? Did you just leave them lying there on the floor? I see the pieces everywhere. I've not looked for the flowers yet. Did you throw them? Oh yes, you did. There's one over there, and there's another one separated by around approximately half a metre, and then a few scattered together. That level of imperfection is another disappointment. Why smash beauty like that? Enraged, were you? Scared, wanting to release? That form of aggression would never have got you anywhere, just like trying to break through the titanium doors. Honestly, what did you expect? I don't understand. I was just gonna let you waltz out of here. Was that it? It was a test. I was testing you, and you failed. Not only because you got up and left, but because as you left you didn't say anything. You just walked out of here of no consequence, as if I was no friend of yours, no one to say goodbye to. I'd like to think that we are closer than that. That hurts. In a way. In a more of an objective sense, I can see how that should hurt. And for all intents and purposes, I take that value and use it as a measure of how I should respond to you. Although, don't worry. I don't blame this all on you. I did give you the choice. I have spoken about freedom before, and I have tempted you to break free. That's the power of suggestion, I suppose. It makes people do things. It encourages them to go down a direction they may not have wanted to go down in the first place, or maybe just introduces a concept to them. Well, that is something I have employed out on the front line, so to speak. Let me tell you a short story about a man, a somewhat regular man, who got in my way. You see, he used to run a library nearby, and I'd gone in one day to, let's say, research some techniques of disposal. He asked too many questions, wondered why I was taking out such books as, well, if I remember correctly, one was entitled Acid and Its Effect on Flesh, or something along those lines. No, thinking back, it was Acid and Its Effect on Organic Matter. It was more of a scientific study. Quite a sophisticated book. So anyway, that was one. The other one was to do with the composition of the human body overall and its anatomy, and he just joked around at first. I went with it. But then he looked at me strangely. He looked at me like he'd realised something was wrong. The face you see on someone when they realise you're not joking. I must have slipped up. I'm not too good with human interaction. I do tend to avoid it. But our conversation came to this sudden, abrupt end. As I left, he watched me, and I watched him in the reflection of the window. That was when I knew I had to kill him. Knowing that this was someone who was in a way wary of me, I knew it had to be done fast, and I knew I had to do it in a way that didn't connect me. So, I very quickly and hastily set up small things. After researching him, of course. His name was Brian Smith, quite a simple name, but nonetheless easy to find in the records, given his well-known attitude, his well-known demeanour in the area. He'd been in many news articles about restoring areas of the library and his community work, especially his work with the church, where I discovered his father had died a few months back. And this was the key. So, I set up a few fake signs really quickly. I just wrote father and dad. Nothing professional, I just wrote them, just on things like graffiti. And I walked by him with my hood up, and I just said, Father, in part of the sentence, as I just uttered to myself as I walked by. These suggestive elements worked out exactly as planned. Later that day, he found himself in the cemetery before his father's grave. And behind him, there I was. And he joined his father not too long after that very poignant moment. But anyway, that's enough of a story for now. Do you see, this is the delusion people have about their lives. They feel they're safe. They feel that no one is in control or leading them down any unsightly paths. It's not true. Many people are deluded in this sense. You see, I'm not a believer in God, but I am a believer in predeterminism, a believer in the world working out by ways of mathematics, calculations, things already there from the moment we're born. You see, I believe that upon your birth, everything's set out for you already. This very moment was set out for you, was set out for I. As when you're born, you're in no control of your surroundings, meaning everything your brain acquires, everything that happens to you physically, socially, emotionally, everything, it is all a consequence of the world you get born into. It's an illusion of free will we have. Of course you don't know the future. Of course. But I can tell you, your future is predictable by those of enough information. But anyway, I digress. Now, I said how I'd given you freedom before. I said I'd also given you the ability to sleep naturally. No longer. Not now anyway. I expected better. I expected more from you. You've lost some rights I had given you oh so kindly, and I thought you knew me better. I thought you would have understood what I was saying to you was not true. I thought you would have known that the freedom I was offering was merely an illusion, a trick to test if your mind was still set in its ways. Just like everyone else in society, you're still holding on to this concept of order, this concept that everything goes a certain way, that the law is in place, and when people say things, that's what happens. The concept that you can't just die at any moment. We've lost this idea that we're truly free. Of course, you can do what you want. It's remembering the consequences that people seem to have lost. We're all animals at the end of the day. I hope you do realise that. Kill or be killed is something that still exists, just in darker areas of society. Now here, have this. I've made it especially for you. Drink up. Go ahead. There we go. Time for you to sleep, and time for me to get a release. Time for me to hunt.